Hey, welcome to Reno's World. I'm your host, Reno Rains, and today we're diving deep into one of the most baffling tales from our naval past, the Philadelphia Experiment. In this two-part special, we'll first break down what they want you to believe, the captivating myth of secret experiments, disappearing ships, and crew horrors that have kept conspiracy theorists buzzing for decades. Then in part two, we'll sift through archival records, eyewitness testimonies, and hard science to reveal whether this story is rooted in fact or simply an elaborate hoax. So, buckle up and join me on this wild investigative ride. If you enjoy uncovering hidden truths as much as I do, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on the Philadelphia Experiment. Let's get started. Philadelphia Experiment, Unraveling a Wartime Mystery, Part 1, The Investigation. In the annals of military lore, few tales have captured the public imagination like the legend of the Philadelphia Experiment. Allegedly carried out during World War II, the story claims that the U.S. Navy conducted a secret experiment at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard using cutting-edge and later purportedly impossible physics to render a ship invisible and even teleport it across hundreds of miles. As an investigative journalist, I set out to examine the origins of this myth, scrutinize the key individuals who fueled its flames, and trace the real places, both geographical and archival, that have become entwined with the legend. The genesis of the legend. The story of the Philadelphia Experiment first emerged in the mid-1950s when an enigmatic figure began sending a series of letters to the UFO researcher and author Morris K. Jessup. The mysterious correspondent, known variously as Carl Meredith Allen and under the alias Carlos Miguel Allende, claimed to have witnessed a top-secret experiment in October 1943 at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. According to his account, the destroyer escort USS Eldridge not only became invisible, but also inexplicably teleported to Norfolk, Virginia, before reappearing back in Philadelphia. This narrative was soon bolstered by the so-called Varro edition of Jessup's book, which featured handwritten annotations in 3 different inks that referenced advanced physics, alien technology, and the phenomenon in striking detail. Allen's letters painted a picture of an experiment that purportedly applied principles derived from Einstein's then unfinished unified field theory. He claimed that the massive electromagnetic generators fitted to the USS Eldridge created a force field capable of bending light around the vessel. Instead of merely cloaking the ship from enemy radar, however, the experiment allegedly went awry, causing the ship and the men aboard to suffer horrifying consequences. Crew members reportedly experienced severe disorientation, were fused to the ship's structure, or even vanished altogether. Key players behind the myth. The tale of the Philadelphia Experiment is propelled by the colorful characters who emerged in its wake. At the heart of the story is Carl Meredith Allen, or Carlos Miguel Allende, a merchant mariner born in Springdale, Pennsylvania in 1925. Described by acquaintances as both brilliant and erratic, Allen was known for his penchant for tall tales and elaborate pranks. His correspondence with Jessup detailed an account so fantastical that even within UFO circles, it quickly garnered skepticism. Over the years, Allen would both confess and recant his involvement, further muddying the waters about his credibility. Another critical figure is Morris K. Jessup, an author and researcher with a deep interest in unidentified flying objects and fringe science. Jessup's book, The Case for the UFO, became a lightning rod for speculation when it arrived annotated by unknown hands, the annotations now believed to have been penned by Allen himself. Although Jessup attempted to verify the claims, he ultimately found no solid evidence, and his growing disillusionment culminated in his tragic death in 1959. His story, marked by personal despair and professional frustration, inadvertently lent a haunting quality to the legend. Beyond these two, researchers and skeptics such as Robert Gorman and Jacques Vallée later joined the debate. Gorman, in particular, tracked down Allen's background, revealing him to be a drifter with a history of mental health issues, details that many argue undermine the veracity of his claims. Vallée, an astrophysicist and ufologist, contributed to the discussion by emphasizing that the imagery and recurring themes in the Philadelphia Experiment narrative speak more to the power of myth-making than to any verifiable event. The geographical and historical backdrop. Central to the legend is the setting of the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, a sprawling complex in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, known for its role in shipbuilding during World War II. It was here that the USS Eldridge was said to have been stationed when the experiment took place. However, official naval records later revealed that from its commissioning on 27th of August 1943 until late 1943, the USS Eldridge was never in Philadelphia at the time alleged by the experiment's supporters. Instead, the ship's log shows a service history that included voyages from New York to the Caribbean and transits through the Atlantic, not the murky, secretive confines of Philadelphia's shipyard. Similarly, the legend places significant emphasis on Norfolk, Virginia, where witnesses claim the ship briefly reappeared. Norfolk has long been a vital naval hub, home to one of the largest naval bases in the United States. The notion that the USS Eldridge could teleport from the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard to Norfolk adds an alluring element of science fiction to the tale. Yet, researchers have pointed out that official records from both ship logs and movement reports of vessels like the merchant ship SS Andrew Furuseth, on which Allen claimed to have been stationed, do not corroborate any such teleportation event. The broader historical context of World War II also provides a counterpoint to the more fantastical elements of the story. During the war, the U.S. Navy was indeed engaged in various experimental technologies. One such practice was degaussing, a method used to reduce the magnetic signature of ships, thereby protecting them from magnetic mines. In degaussing, electrical currents are passed through cables wrapped around the ship's hull to cancel out its magnetic field. While this technology might metaphorically cloak a ship from certain types of detection, it does not and cannot render a vessel invisible to the human eye or cause it to vanish from one port and reappear in another. Many skeptics argue that the degaussing experiments conducted during World War II were later misinterpreted or deliberately misrepresented as evidence for a much more elaborate experiment than actually occurred. Dissecting the evidence. A thorough review of primary sources, such as the USS Eldridge's deck logs and action reports, shows no record of the ship being in Philadelphia during the period when the experiment supposedly occurred. According to archived documents maintained by the Naval Historical Center, the Eldridge was engaged in routine escort missions and training exercises rather than clandestine invisibility experiments. Moreover, movement reports for the SS Andrew Furuseth, which Allen claimed provided corroborative evidence, indicate that the vessel's documented voyages did not coincide with any unusual activity in Norfolk that could support the teleportation claim. Even more damning for the myth are the scientific principles, or lack thereof, that underpin the story. The theory that Einstein's unified field theory could be harnessed to manipulate electromagnetic fields to the point of making a ship vanish is by most accounts pure speculation. Unified field theory remains an unsolved problem in physics, and the technology required to bend light around a macroscopic object or to initiate teleportation is far beyond our current capabilities. Critics point out that even with modern advancements in stealth technology and quantum physics, the kind of phenomena described in the Philadelphia experiment would be nothing short of miraculous. The cultural impact and endurance of the legend. Despite, or perhaps because of, the overwhelming evidence against it, the Philadelphia experiment continues to be a staple of conspiracy lore and science fiction. Its narrative has been rehashed in books, films, and even television series, each iteration adding new layers of mystery or alternate explanations. For instance, the 1984 film The Philadelphia Experiment dramatized the story with elements of time travel and alternate dimensions, further blurring the line between documented history and imaginative speculation. The legend has grown, fueled by a combination of genuine Cold War-era secrecy, the human fascination with the unknown, and the alluring possibility that extraordinary scientific breakthroughs might be hidden behind official denials. In popular culture, the myth serves as a metaphor for government secrecy and the eternal allure of forbidden knowledge. Even reputable institutions such as the Office of Naval Research have had to address the myth publicly, emphatically stating that no such experiment was ever conducted and that the alleged capabilities defy the known laws of physics. Conclusion of Part 1. In this first part of our investigation, we have traced the origins of the Philadelphia experiment legend, from the mysterious letters of Carl Meredith Allen to the official ship logs of the USS Eldridge, and examined the real-world locations that lend both credibility and skepticism to the tale. Philadelphia and Norfolk, two pivotal naval hubs, serve as the geographical anchors for the myth, while the shadowy figure of Allen remains emblematic of the kind of unreliable eyewitness testimony that can give rise to enduring conspiracy theories. While the dramatic claims of invisibility, teleportation, and catastrophic crew disfigurement have captivated the public imagination for decades, a critical examination of the evidence reveals significant inconsistencies and a lack of verifiable documentation. In our next installment, we will delve into the second part of this investigation, analyzing the evidence for and against the claims, assessing the veracity of the various eyewitness accounts, and ultimately coming to a reasoned conclusion about whether there is any truth behind the legend or if it is indeed a well-crafted hoax. The Philadelphia experiment remains a fascinating case study in how wartime secrecy, human psychology, and the hunger for extraordinary explanations can converge to create a myth that endures far beyond its original context. As we continue this investigation, the search for truth will require us to sift through archival records, scientific principles, and the persistent echoes of a story that refuses to fade away. The Philadelphia Experiment, Analyzing the Evidence, Part 2, Truth or Hoax. In Part 1, we trace the origins of the Philadelphia experiment legend, from the mysterious letters of Carl Meredith Allen to the storied backdrops of Philadelphia and Norfolk. Now the task is to sift through the layers of eyewitness accounts, archival records, scientific principles, and expert analyses to determine if there's any factual basis behind this enduring conspiracy. Scrutinizing the eyewitness accounts, at the heart of the Philadelphia experiment narrative is the testimony of one man, Carl Meredith Allen, also known as Carlos Miguel Allende. Allen's letters to UFO researcher Morris K. Jessup described a harrowing scene aboard the USS Eldridge, a ship rendered invisible, teleporting between Philadelphia and Norfolk, with crew members suffering unexplainable and horrific side effects. Yet, a critical evaluation of Allen's testimony raises several red flags. First, Allen's story is solitary. No other credible eyewitness from within the crew or among nearby vessels has ever corroborated such dramatic events. While a later figure, Alfred Bielek, claimed to be a survivor who had his memories reawakened by a film portrayal of the experiment, his account is fraught with inconsistencies and lacks independent verification. Additionally, Allen's background, a drifter with a history of mental instability and a penchant for tall tales, is well documented. Investigative research, such as that by Robert Gorman, has repeatedly cast doubt on Allen's reliability, labeling him more of a master leg puller than a credible eyewitness. Delving into naval records. To move beyond subjective accounts, we must examine the hard evidence found in naval records. The official deck logs and war diaries of the USS Eldridge are among the most definitive sources available. According to archived documents held by the Naval Historical Center, the USS Eldridge was commissioned on the 27th of August 1943 and spent its time engaged in routine escort and training operations, not clandestine experiments in Philadelphia. Detailed logs reveal that during the period in question, the ship was nowhere near the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. In fact, its documented itineraries place it on missions to the Caribbean and through the Atlantic. Moreover, corroborative documents such as the movement report cards of the merchant ship SS Andrew Furuseth, on which Allen claimed to have served, do not align with the timeline or locations described by Allen. These reports, preserved within the National Archives, show that the Andrew Furuseth was not in the Norfolk area during the critical window, further undermining the claim that it witnessed any teleportation of the USS Eldridge. Scientific scrutiny, physics versus fiction. The purported scientific basis of the experiment is another area where the legend falls short. Allen's narrative claims that the U.S. Navy harnessed Einstein's unified field theory to generate an electromagnetic field that could bend light and matter, effectively rendering a ship invisible or even transporting it across space. However, even decades after Einstein's time, the unified field theory remains an unfulfilled ambition in physics. No established experiment, past or present, demonstrates that electromagnetic fields can cause macroscopic objects like ships to vanish or teleport. Furthermore, the phenomena described, such as crew members becoming fused to the ship or disintegrating, are entirely inconsistent with the known laws of physics. Modern stealth technology, which relies on reducing radar signatures through degaussing or other methods, works within the realm of conventional science. It does not involve altering the physical state of matter or causing abrupt, inexplicable shifts in location. As scientists from the Office of Naval Research have stated, the idea that a vessel could be rendered invisible in this manner simply defies established physical principles. Alternative explanations. The role of degaussing. One rational explanation often cited by skeptics is the process of degaussing. During World War II, the Navy indeed experimented with degaussing to protect ships from magnetic mines. This technique involves running an electrical current through cables wrapped around a ship's hull, effectively neutralizing its magnetic field. While degaussing can cloak a vessel from the detection methods used by magnetic mines, it does nothing to make the ship invisible to the human eye or to cause it to teleport. Nonetheless, some proponents of the Philadelphia experiment have suggested that degaussing was misinterpreted or embellished over time into a far more sensational narrative. The vivid accounts of a greenish-blue glow surrounding the ship might in reality have been the result of electrical phenomena such as St. Elmo's fire, a well-documented natural occurrence on ships in strong electric fields. This effect, coupled with the inherent mysteries of wartime research and the lack of accessible documentation for classified experiments, may have provided fertile ground for a myth to grow, one that could be easily embellished by a single, unreliable witness. Expert investigations and the weight of evidence. Over the years, several researchers and skeptics have attempted to piece together a coherent picture from the scattered remnants of the legend. Investigative journalists, historians, and naval experts have all contributed to what can be summarized as a systematic debunking of the Philadelphia experiment narrative. For instance, analyses by naval historians consistently point to the absence of any official documentation or corroborative records that would support such an extraordinary event. When cross-referenced with ship logs, convoy records, and eyewitness testimonies from crew members, the story fails to hold up. Jacques Vallée and Robert Gurman, both prominent in the field of ufology and conspiracy research, have shown that much of the narrative relies on secondhand accounts and unverifiable documents. Their work indicates that the entire myth seems to stem from a single, largely discredited source, Carl Allen, and the subsequent sensationalism that followed his dubious claims. The fact that the Office of Naval Research has never pursued any investigation into invisibility experiments, and that the technology required for such feats lies firmly in the realm of science fiction, further tips the scales toward the conclusion that the Philadelphia experiment is nothing more than a well-crafted hoax. Weighing the true or false verdict. After evaluating all available evidence, from the unreliable testimonies of a known fabricator to the ironclad records of naval logs, and from the implausible application of cutting-edge physics to the mundane reality of degaussing, it becomes evident that the Philadelphia experiment lacks any credible foundation. The dramatic claims of teleportation, invisibility, and catastrophic human consequences are not supported by any verifiable data. The discrepancies in timeline, location, and physical evidence overwhelmingly suggest that this narrative is an amalgamation of misinterpretations, exaggerations, and outright fabrications. Final verdict. After a meticulous investigation into every facet of the Philadelphia experiment, examining first-hand accounts, official records, and scientific evaluations, the conclusion is clear. The Philadelphia experiment is false. While the story endures as a fascinating piece of conspiracy lore and a testament to the power of myth-making, there is no substantive evidence to support the extraordinary claims it makes. Instead, what persists is a cautionary tale of how isolated, unreliable testimonies can be magnified by public fascination and a cultural hunger for mysteries, especially in times of national secrecy and scientific uncertainty. Thanks for tuning in to Reno's World. I'm Reno Rains, and that wraps up our deep dive into the mysteries of the Philadelphia experiment. I hope you enjoyed exploring both what they want you to believe and our hard-hitting investigation into the truth behind this enduring naval myth. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more investigative adventures, and leave your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Your feedback fuels our quest for hidden truths. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning the world around you.